Good evening to those who are watching live, and hello, good morning, good afternoon, and whatever time it is for those of you who are watching on the replay. Thanks for joining in on the replay. If you are watching this back in the future, then please do still drop your comments below. I will come back and respond and answer any questions that you've got. And great to see the number of live viewers shooting up straight away from the start. It's great to have you here. Let me know who's watching in the comments. Good evening. I am Duncan from Mind Affinity. If you don't know me and who I am, I'll very briefly introduce myself. I'm a hypnotherapist, psychotherapist, and coach, and I get to spend my time not just helping other people, but helping other people to empower themselves, which is even more cool. I'm also founder of Mind Affinity and Relax Club, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But primarily, what I want to talk to you about today is this weird second lockdown. And for those of you who are watching and tuning in from Wales, I get that you're coming to the end of yours, but there may still be some really useful tips in here. If you're the kind of person who right now is really struggling with your well-being and looking after yourself and your mental health during this time, then stay tuned. There's some tips for you. If that's not really where you're at and you're actually in a fairly good place, but you want to make sure that you're maintaining that and give yourself the opportunity to really thrive and not just survive during this lockdown, then keep watching because there's some tips for you as well. Good evening, James Chisholm. Thanks for being the first one to comment. For that, you get a special mention. This is James Chisholm, everyone. He is an accountant, believe it or not, and he's actually very good. Okay, so let's get into it. Who am I? Who am I to talk to you about lockdown and how to look after your mental health? Well, I've been helping people to look after themselves, their mental and emotional well-being for over 14 years now. So I've got quite a bit of experience and a lot of really great feedback to go with it. So that's where I'm coming at it from. I've also spent a lot of time training, learning, and understanding about how the mind works, how we think, and how we feel stuff, because I love helping people. And that's what I do for a living. So I speak to a lot of people about how they're feeling and how they're getting on through lockdown. And there are some people who are really embracing it and doing really well. There are some people really struggling, and there's obviously lots of people in between. It's interesting the difference between the first lockdown and the second lockdown. So at the start of the first lockdown, there was some real uncertainty, there was some real worry. If you're the kind of person who, as many people did, started off feeling really worried and concerned and not really sure what was going on, and that made you feel uncomfortable, but then you jumped at the opportunity, you turned it to your advantage, you found ways to embrace new ways of doing stuff and doing things online and began to do well from it, fantastic, well done. And then you're feeling like this time round, it all feels a bit different and you're not quite sure and you can't put your finger on it, but you don't feel as enthusiastic or you're feeling more down about things. Well, don't worry, you're not alone. That's actually really common. And part of the reason for that is the first time round, it was new. And so excitement may sound like the wrong word, but it was kind of exciting because we didn't know what to expect and we were adapting. So it was really easy to keep ourselves either busy by throwing ourselves into pivoting, to use the buzz term, which I hate. A big shout out to Kate. Haven't heard from you in a while. Hope everything's going well. So the first time around, it was really easy to an extent to throw yourself into new projects, new ways of doing things. It was exciting. It kind of felt like there was an end in sight. And then this time round, we kind of did this already and it didn't work out as we would hope, and we've not been able to continue and carry on. And things just are a bit different. And there isn't, although there's a date as an end to this lockdown, it doesn't feel like the end of this situation is necessarily any closer, and there's even more uncertainty about that. So it's harder to remain positive in a lot of ways. But here's the thing. You have been through this before. You can learn from that. Take the things that worked well from you from the last time. Think about it and take time now to reflect back over the last lockdown. What helped you? What worked well? What was good? And what was right? What you like or didn't work? And see how much of the stuff that worked well last time you can replicate and do again this time. And try not to make the same mistake as last time. So learn from the thing that didn't go so well. But there's loads more you can do beyond that as well. So I'm going to share some tips. Now, at the start, before the first lockdown was announced, I released this guide. There it is. Ta-da! The Coronavirus Survival Guide. And that was full of hints and tips and you can look at your well-being, especially, or at least section devoted to being specifically aimed at people with anxiety or who struggle and are feeling anxious and worried about the situation or in general. So Kate says, definitely felt that or feel that. The first time round I had a different optimism to later in the year, not even just lockdown 2.0, but in the end, but the end in sight comment makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. There is still an end. This too will pass, and depending on your personal beliefs and what your interpretation of things is at the moment, that could be potentially closer than we expected that it might be. Who knows? Sorry that I'm glitching for you. Let me know if I'm glitching for everyone else. It seems stable from my end, but it could be that there's a problem with the internet. So let me know in the comments. Maybe if needs be, I can switch to 4G and see if that's more stable. So I'm going to go over now a few hints and tips of things that you can do, which are not just useful right now in lockdown 2.0, but they're useful tips in general if you want to either, if you're struggling with mental ill health and challenges and difficulties, particularly around anxiety, to whatever degree, and you want to improve that. But also if you're in a good place, you want to maintain that, or you want to recognize what's working well so that you can build on it going forward in the future. Elements of these tips will suit all of those different perspectives. But to start with, I'm going to focus a bit more on the anxiety and the worry. Now, the first thing to recognize here is that when I talk about anxiety, I sometimes talk about anxiety with an uppercase A or a lowercase a. So big A anxiety is this diagnosed anxiety. It's more of a disorder, and it gets in the way of things. When I speak about lowercase anxiety, little a, actually that is normal and it's natural. Worrying about stuff, that happens. It's okay to worry about stuff. The difference between the two, generally, with uppercase anxiety, it's persistent, it's constant, it gets in the way, it's tiring. God, it's tiring. But the thing that tends to create that difference is actually if we try and refute the little a, if we try and ignore the worries and the things that are building up, that's when it's far more likely to lead to a bigger problem. Accepting that it's okay to worry about things, it's okay to feel a bit nervous about stuff, to feel concerned, but choosing to manage your reaction and your response from it, being aware of how you're feeling and being accepting of how you're feeling, allows you to do much more with it rather than try and fight against it or hide from it, which ultimately leads to a bigger problem. Glad to hear that it's all working fine. I feel that the last 13 months have shaken my foundation in so many ways. Lockdown just seems to be the cherry on top. Kat, you are not alone. You're not alone. Again, there's still things that you can do to improve that. So it's great that you've had that foundation to shake. Let's rebuild, let's fill in those cracks, and then let's see how we can build on top of that. It's okay to be human. Absolutely. That sounds like something I may have said to you once. Do you know what? It is absolutely okay to be human. And part of being human means, guess what? Making mistakes. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes, loads of them. And most of the time, they create opportunities for me to learn and for me to grow. You wouldn't look at someone else and judge them for making a mistake in their life. But you tend to judge yourself far more harshly. So be accepting of yourself. It's okay to be human. So here's some tips on reducing anxiety and worry specifically. The first one is don't think about it. Yeah, right, because that works, doesn't it? You know, when there's something playing on your mind and you're just going to not think about it. How many times has that actually helped you in any way, shape, or form, or even led to you not thinking about it? It's rarely successful. If I say to you right now, don't think about a white polar bear, guess what you're thinking about? A white polar bear, most likely, because I just put the thought in your mind, or you just put the thought in your mind by listening to my words. So it goes back to what I was just saying. It's okay to worry. It's okay to be human. But rejecting that or trying to fight against that or trying to forget about that and bury your head in the sand and ignore it is just going to exacerbate the situation. It's just going to make it worse. So this idea of just not thinking about it or just thinking happy thoughts, well, do you know what? It's not that simple. And anyone who's ever tried it will know it. So don't just try to not think about it, because that won't work. One thing you can do is decide how you do want to feel and what you do want to think about and what you do want to focus on. It's a way of shifting your focus without just denying it and trying to not think about the thing, giving yourself a positive focus instead. But it's much better and easier to do that if you accept and acknowledge how you're feeling and the challenges and the difficulties before you then move on to what you actually want to be focusing on. Say to yourself, have a conversation with yourself, right? Because the chances are, if you are a worrier and if you are an anxious person, you probably talk to yourself a lot. Normally, things like, oh, why did you say that? Or what if you'd just done this? Or if this happens? Or what if it happens? And it's probably quite negative self-talk a lot of the time. So why not have those conversations with yourself in a more positive way? Why not recognize that that worry, that anxiety, it's coming from somewhere and it's your mind trying to help you. It's trying to serve you well. Thank you for trying to help me and draw my attention to this, but actually that's not what I need right now. Having that conversation with yourself is so much more accepting and so much more powerful than telling yourself that you just need to stop thinking about it, because it doesn't work that way. During this time, if you are doing that thing where you're trying to focus on positive stuff, there'll be a lot of stuff popping up everywhere, reminding you of the stuff you're trying to not think about. Rather than reacting and responding to that by feeling bad that you're thinking about it again, or beating yourself up for thinking about it, or getting frustrated with the person that's bringing that to your attention again, instead see that as an opportunity to practice shifting your focus to the positive things, an opportunity to practice being more accepting of those thoughts, of those things, of that focus, so that you can accept it and move on. And on the subject of that, digest in moderation. There are so many reminders out there, and there are some threads on Facebook that are really not very helpful. There are some groups, some people that you may see posting all sorts of things and debates and arguments that you just want to jump into, but you know if you do, it's just going to draw you into that hole. It's going to create more stress and frustration for you. Do you know what? Different people have different opinions on stuff. That's okay. There's a section in my guide about that. I'm not going to talk about it particularly right now, but in brief, different people are going to think different things. Just because they don't agree with you doesn't mean that they're not educated. It doesn't mean that they're not, it doesn't mean they're stupid. It just means that their knowledge, their experience, their point of reference, and their emotional feelings on it, because that informs a lot of how we think and how we rationalize things, just differs from yours. Very unlikely to change someone's mind by arguing with a stranger on the internet. So choose what to surround yourself with and find positive things. If you're going to be consuming content, find some positive content that you can consume. Of course, a great example of that would be to head to my Facebook group, which I don't have a link for here. Head to search Facebook for Empower Yourself and Others. If you're not already watching from there, that is a great supportive and positive place on the internet where you can get good content that makes you feel better and isn't just bombarded with people arguing about different perspectives on things. So don't think about it, but do think about it, accept it, and choose to focus on more positive things. Surround yourself with good content and digest in moderation. If you feel that it helps you to be up to date with the changes and watching the news or listening to the news as part of that, great. But choose to do that at the time that you want to do that. Don't be constantly checking for updates. Yeah, absolutely. So it's the when will it end? And a lot of us feel that there is no answer to that. There is no answer to that, absolutely, currently. We don't know when it's going to end. But we do know we can't control that. Okay, so it's really important in life to focus on what you can control and find ways to learn to accept the things that you can't. Now, I'm lucky. I said this at the very start of lockdown, that I'm lucky to be in the situation that I'm in because I can take my business completely online. It was already partly online. I miss talking to big crowds of people. I miss a lot of the networking and various other things that I used to do in person, but I still get to help people. And actually, it's created an opportunity for me to help a lot more people. At the start of lockdown, the first time round, there were a lot of people who already struggled a bit with invasive thoughts or not sleeping well or worry or anxiety or depression or whatever it might be. And this gave them that extra push to reach out, and I was able to help them to a place better than they were before. Fantastic. I was very lucky. I also was meant to be flying out to Australia for a month and completely missed out on that as a result. And I could have got hung up on that, but actually, because I had that month separated, planned to be spent over there, it meant I had more time, more flexibility to spend building up my business online and helping those people that suddenly needed it more now than ever. I couldn't control the fact that I could no longer go to Australia, but I could absolutely control what I did with that time instead, and find a way to use it to benefit me and others, which I found really helpful. Thank you so much, Adele, for sharing that link. Really appreciate that. So there is the link for my group if you're looking for a place full of positive content. Yeah, I'm okay, thanks. I'm really good. Are you? I hope you are. Thanks for dropping by. So the next one, yeah, I was going to Australia. This really, really nice travel agent, independent travel agent called Kate Howden. She had booked all my flights and sorted it all out for me. And when it all went horribly wrong, she was absolutely fantastic at chasing things up for me and getting things sorted, and ultimately getting me a full refund. So yay to her. There you go, little shout out, little plug for you there, Kate. So the next point is be nicer to yourself. Be nicer to yourself. Because do you know what? Right now, things are pretty pants for a lot of people, and they may be a bit pants for you. And as much as I'm filled with positivity and saying how there are opportunities out there, everyone's in a different place, everyone's in a different situation. If for you right now, you're not capable, or rather you don't believe that you're capable and you don't have the energy to go out and do amazing things and pivot your business and turn things around, then do you know what? That's okay too. Take this time to refuel, to look after yourself. There's enough going on right now. Just be a bit nicer to yourself in the process. And here's a few specific ways that you can be a bit nicer to yourself as well. I know you weren't looking for a plug, but you deserved one because you're ace. So here's a few specific ways that you can be nicer to yourself as well while you're at it. 1, take little breaks. Lots of little breaks can make a big difference. So if you're currently still working or running a business, as I know a lot of my audience watching right now are, then it may feel like you don't have time to step away from that. But taking short, little, regular breaks just built into your daily work pattern can make things an awful lot easier for you, will make you a lot more productive, and will help you to look after your physical and mental health as you go along. Stress is a complicated thing. No stress is necessarily bad stress. It's just about managing that stress level. And one of the most important things to do is put that stress down, take breaks. So little things like when you go and make a cup of tea, leave your phone on the desk, go and put the kettle on, and while the kettle's boiling, do some nice deep breathing. And yes, reminders for turning on the kettle are good. As I posted in my group earlier on today, and I think I'm going to have to start posting a bit more regularly because that'll help more people to breathe. But taking lots of little breaks through the day to breathe, or if you find you're doing one thing, sat in one place for too long, taking a break doesn't have to mean stopping work completely. If you find it difficult to do that, then find short tasks that you can do that engage different areas of your brain. So if you're doing very functional, practical stuff, take a quick break to do something more creative that still helps your business. Then you don't beat yourself up, which you shouldn't be doing anyway, of course, for not being productive because you're still doing something useful. Aisha, I realized today I am stressed because so much to do, always on the phone. Yeah. Now, the great news there is that you realized and you recognized that you're stressed. That's really important. The next step is to make sure you do something about it. Okay. Really, really important, because it's no good being aware and noticing it if you don't then take action. Well, there we go, Maria. Do you know what, Maria? Let's have a call. Let's have a chat. Let's catch up. Drop me a message. Drop me a message, and I'll get back to you after this live. So yeah, be nice to yourself. Take lots of little breaks. You know, I randomly stop working when I finish something that I'm working on, or sometimes in the middle of a sentence, because that way it's easier to get back into it. That's just something I do for me because I'm weird like that. And I'll just drop and do some push-ups, or run up and down the stairs a couple of times, or something like that, because I've been sat down at the desk too long and I know I just need to get that blood flowing again. So little things like that can help. The next one, take bigger breaks. So looking after yourself, little breaks, and often, even if it's just taking a nice deep breath after finishing that phone call and before replying to that email, or whatever it might be, bigger breaks are just as important. So, you know, make time, plan time specifically for you in your diary. This could be planning on a Thursday evening to take a nice, relaxing bath. It could be going for a walk in the woods. It could be just deciding that actually you're going to leave for work 20 minutes early so that you can go and sit just somewhere out of the way and breathe and relax before going off into work. Whatever it is, but find pockets of time where you can have bigger breaks and look after yourself better. Obviously, a great way to do this is Relax Club, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, because that's partly what it's designed for, helping you have lots of little breaks and take longer time for yourself. But we'll get to that. So move more and eat well. Two other really great ways of being nicer to yourself. Move more, exercise, light exercise, or doesn't have to be, you know, hitting the gym, which obviously is difficult that some people can't do and they get frustrated with now. But even little things like just doing stretches when you first get up in the morning can really help your body, and therefore your mental health as well. Today wasn't happening for me, no reasons, just felt all sluggish, so I went for a bath and read a book this afternoon. What can happen tonight? There you go. For some people right now, there's more flexibility to do that kind of thing. Not for everyone, but for some there is. Great, use that to your advantage. Actually, I was going to come to this later, but I'll come to it now because I feel it's very relevant. One great way to balance your time and to feel better about taking that time to, you know, so in Kat's example, deciding that no, it's just not working, it's sluggish, I'm going to stop, I'm going to rest, look after myself, and then I'm going to work this evening instead. One of the best ways to be able to do that and not beat yourself up and feel guilty about taking that time off. Thank you, James. Wednesday evening going to Relax Club. That's what James does to look after himself. Beautiful example. So one of the things that you can do And this is something that a lot of anxious people find really helpful, particularly if there's anxiety and depression combined. Make a checklist of the things that you can do for yourself. Now, if you're in a really good place and actually it's about things like what you want to achieve at work and needing to get on with stuff and not wanting to beat yourself up for not doing stuff, then the stuff that you'll put on the list will be very different, and you can put more challenging things on there, and that's okay. But the example I'm going to give is for someone who's just really struggling right now, who has good days where they can get a lot done and bad days where they do nothing. Maybe you go for an entire week of feeling great, but then you're just, or you have a day where you just do loads, but then the next day you suffer, and then you beat yourself up for not being able to do much the next day, so it rolls into the next one and so on. So here's something that you can do for that. Create a checklist of like a dozen things that you know will help you and that you would like to do more frequently if you're in a good place. Include some stuff that you just take for granted, like brush your teeth. If that's something that you do every day, but some days it feels like more of a hassle than others, and that's a challenge for you, or making your bed or whatever, then include that on the list. If you're in a place where you struggle to do basic self-care like having a bath or a shower, but and that's not necessarily something you want to do every day, but you want to do it more often, put it on the list. Also include things that you're definitely not planning on doing every day. So, I don't know, wash your hair, for example. You might want to shower every day, but you might only want to wash your hair a couple of times a week or a few times a week, whatever it might be. Include things like that as well. Because then what you can do is each day you can tick off those things that you do achieve, those things that you manage to accomplish. You can look back and feel good about accomplishing them. Now, remember, this is not a to-do list. It's not you need to tick everything off every day, because that's undue pressure that you don't need. And there'll be days where you tick one box, two boxes. There'll be days where you tick all 12, or however many you put on there. The idea is you get to the end of the week and you look back over your week and you see which ones how many in total you've achieved, or what your daily average works out at. That way, if you're having a day where, do you know what, I just don't feel like I want to, or I'm able to get on with other things, then don't get on with them. But you won't need to feel so guilty, because you'll know you did more yesterday, or you can do more tomorrow. And then at the end of the week, when you're looking back, you can see that it's more balanced. And it also helps you then week on week to challenge yourself to do better than last week, but you're not pushing yourself too hard and then failing, or feeling bad, or not achieving as much the next day. So consider doing that. Equally, it can be really good to think about things that make you feel good. So for me, for example, putting on good music puts me in a better mood. Going for a walk makes me feel better. And that's true for many people. But when you're in that mood, you might not think about those things. You might just think, so having a list of those go-to things that you know are going to make you feel better, then when you're in that moment, you don't need to struggle to think about what it is. You can just refer back to that list. Okay. The other thing is routine. So one of the big things about lockdown, especially the first time round, is that it really threw people's routine out. This is an opportunity now for you to create new routines, new ways of doing things, to adjust your routine to suit. So use this time to create a good routine. We like structure, we like routine. We're creatures of habit generally. Even if we enjoy change, having a good structure and routine with flexibility built into it, by all means, for a lot of people, that helps us. So something as simple as having a good morning routine that you know puts you in the right place for the day, keep doing that. If it always used to be important to you that you would spend your Sunday mornings not leaving the house because you spent a lot of time out of the house, well, do you know what? You could still do that. Or you could find a way to flip it and go, well, I spend a lot of time in the house, so my Sunday mornings are now my time to go for a walk, whatever it might be. Okay, so I've been talking quite a lot. I've thrown a lot out there. If you've got any questions, please do whack them down in the comments. But there's just a couple of last things that I want to leave you with before I go. So one is I do have this rather sexy looking guide. Not necessarily the image on the front of it being that sexy, but this was designed by my designer, Simon Clements. Shout out for him because he's pretty awesome. As you can see, some of the tips that I mentioned today are in there, but there's loads more in there as well. That is available to download for free from my website. So please do check that out. You can see the link is at the bottom of the page here, mindaffinity.co.uk/Corona Survival. That's the guide that I wrote pre-lockdown. Check it out. It's still just as relevant for this second lockdown as it was for the first one. Excuse if some of the wording's more aimed at the first one, but the ideas in there and the advice is still the same. And then the other thing is to check out Relax Club. In fact, that's even mentioned in my guide here. So you heard me mention it earlier, and a couple of people have mentioned it in the comments. Relax Club is an online platform specifically designed to help you improve your mindset and your well-being. There's loads to it, but there's a live video, a live hypnosis session for relaxation that you can do from the comfort of your own home, or from wherever you are, because you can do it on your mobile phone as well. So it's a personal wellness platform in the palm of your hand that helps you to relax and unwind whenever you choose. There's live hypnosis sessions every Wednesday at 8 p.m. at the moment, though the time may change. And you're welcome to come and join and enjoy them. We have a bit of a social Zoom chat afterwards normally as well. You can also watch those sessions back at any time on demand that suits you. But not just that, there's also a load of pre-recorded tracks. There's everything from a 6-minute morning mindset track, which is just a short track to listen to in the morning to help get you into a positive mindset and frame of mind for the day ahead, right up to an hour-long track that's just music to relax to, and loads more stuff coming soon. Also some tracks to help you sleep. So yeah, loads of stuff in Relax Club. And right now, there's even a free trial. So just head to relaxclub.online, there it is, and you can grab a free trial for a week. You can come see what it's all about. If you enjoy it, great. If you don't, no worries. And it's currently in its sort of first format, but there is a brand new version 2.0 coming soon. I've got people in the background working really hard on some impressive web development stuff that's going to make it take it to the whole new level. So definitely take the time to check that out. Simon Clements really is awesome. His design work is brilliant and excellent, Kate. So haven't seen any questions come in the comments. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you know anyone who may be struggling right now, or if you know that there may be people that could benefit from this and you don't want to necessarily share it directly with them or tag them in, then please do share this video out there. If you think people can be of benefit, if there's any help from this video, please share it publicly, get it out there. I just want to help people. The coronavirus guide from my website, you can share that link as well. That is completely free. I'm not interested in making any money out of it. I just want to help people realize that, yeah, times can be a bit tough and a bit rubbish right now, but they don't have to be. And no matter how bad things are, there's still stuff you can do to make it better and easier. And you know what? We will get through all of this. And if anyone's really struggling and really not sure and you want some help, just reach out. Please don't hesitate. Just drop me a message. And we'll go from there. Okay, I'm going to tune out now. Thanks everyone for watching. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you all soon. Good night.